JBN, we keep you informed. Shootout with cops leaves 2 gunmen dead, 3 guns seized in Ocharias. 2 men were shot dead during a reported confrontation with police officers in Ocharias St. Ann on Sunday. The deceased are yet to be identified. The police seized 3 illegal guns and a Toyota motor car which they believe may have been rented following the shooting in Fern Grove, Ocharias. Reports are that about 7 p.m., law enforcers were in Fern Grove when 4 men were seen standing near a motor car. Upon the approach of the police, the men reportedly opened gunfire at the cops. The police returned fire and a shootout ensued. When the gunfire subsided, 2 men were found suffering from bullet wounds. They later died at hospital, the police indicated. A search of the area was conducted for the other 2 men, but it was realized that they escaped. According to the police, 3.38 revolvers, along with several rounds of ammunition and the motor car, were seized during the incident. A police probe is ongoing into the incident, and as expected, the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, is undertaking a separate examination of the circumstances behind the fatal encounter with the police. Gunman disarmed in Harborview attempted robbery. A gun and several rounds of ammunition were handed over to the Harborview police on Monday, following a reported attempted robbery in the East Kingston community. Police report that about 7:30 p.m., a man and a woman were standing along the roadway when they were pounced upon by 2 men who demanded personal items. The demands by the 2 men were not met, and one of them left and returned with a gun, according to the police report. A tussle reportedly ensued between the armed man and the male complainant, who subsequently disarmed the hoodlum and handed over the .38 Taurus revolver and the 3.38 cartridges to the police. The would-be robbers reportedly escaped. Mother of mob killing suspect in police custody. The mother of the prime suspect in the recent mob killing on Ricketts Crescent in St. Andrew is now in police custody. Head of the St. Andrew South Police Division, Superintendent Wayne Cameron, last night said that the woman, accompanied by a Justice of the Peace, turned herself into the police on Friday. She was named as a person of interest in the case and will be further interrogated this week. Detectives are investigating reports that she was present during the mob killing. In the meantime, Superintendent Cameron says the woman's son, Andrew Williams, who was named as the prime suspect in the case, has now been placed on the St. Andrew South Police wanted list. O'Keefe Sewell, 30, was stabbed and his head bashed in with building blocks after his vehicle splashed a Ricketts Avenue resident during heavy rain on October 23. Government rebuilds 5-bedroom house destroyed by fire. Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Friday handed over keys to residents of 194 Bay Farm Road in St. Andrew, who were dislocated after a fire destroyed their home earlier this year. A 1-year-old boy died in the fire. The 5-bedroom structure was reconstructed under the housing component of Housing Opportunity, Production and Employment HOPE program. In his address, the Prime Minister said close to $1 billion has been allocated in the budget to accelerate the provision of shelter under the HOPE program. It is distributed island-wide, and each member of parliament has been given 5 housing solutions. So based on their demand and in consultation with the HOPE Secretariat, they can decide on 5 housing problems they need to solve per year, and they can use the resources. So it's designed to deal with situations like these and to improve the housing stock, he said. The Prime Minister said that the needs may vary based on the circumstances of the individuals and the communities in which they reside. What we are doing is to make sure that we get to those who are urgently in need, that we deal with those who are vulnerable, and we deal with those that are most affected, particularly families with many young children or with elderly relatives. That is the idea of the housing aspect of the whole program, he explained. Holness argued that the whole program is working and is giving Jamaicans hope. The employment component is creating an apprenticeship modality, which would have served over 20,000 youngsters by now. The housing aspect of it just started. The opportunities aspect we are working to roll out, and the production aspect will be rolled out soon, he said. Presenting the keys for the rebuilt home, Holness said, "We are giving you hope and opportunity that your entire family can recover and make use of the facilities." The Prime Minister said solar lamps will be distributed to the family to minimize the use of open flame sources for lighting at the home. You could be a very good ambassador, a very good messenger to other mothers, other grandmothers and caregivers who have housing conditions similar to this to say, listen, you can't light matches and candles in these houses. Get solar lamps, he said. Hope's National Program Director for Social Housing, Danville Walker, said the structure took about 4 months to be rebuilt. There are a few things left to be done, but we can do that while you're here, he said. Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Western, Anthony Hilton, thanked the government for assisting the family to recover from the tragedy. I am particularly pleased to have you on this occasion because it represents, in a real sense, hope and for the family some renewal. 4 months ago, this was a seed of tragedy. Today it's a scene of celebration, he said. Expressing gratitude for the help, Herman Tennant thanked all the stakeholders for putting back a roof over my head. Another resident, Cassandra Brown, whose son perished in the fire, said although it was a sad occasion, she is still giving thanks. Only sad thing about it is my son. But I feel good because outer road don't have no roof. It don't make no sense. I feel good so we have a roof over our head, she said. Sugar's slow death, sucking life out of St. Thomas. The silence was deafening, the emptiness haunting. Almost an hour and a half had passed, and not a single shopper had entered through the yawning doors of a modest mart in Duncanfield, St. Thomas. Sugar's slow, tortuous death has laid bare a funeral atmosphere that is stifling almost every other sector. Just ask Superette owner Everall Fuzzy Nicholson about the crippling ripple effects. Ever since work ground to a halt 3 months ago, he has had to lay off 2 of his staffers, a cashier and a meat room worker. This was a lively place and people from various parts of St. Thomas come here and get work. It was good for business as they would stop and buy things. No, nothing a go on. The cupboard empty, Nicholson said. The July closure of the Golden Grove Sugar Estate in the eastern Jamaica parish has put about 150 direct employees out of work, with a multiplier effect on scores of factory operators, cane farmers, cutters, harvesters, tractor drivers, mechanics, and other laborers. Separate shuttered its operations after bleeding losses of $1 billion annually in an industry that had fallen victim to a lack of mechanization and an erosion of preferential trade terms. The factory, which was established in 1924, was taken over by Separate in 2009. A few meters away from Nicholson's Minimart, a group of men, all former staffers or contract workers at the estate, gathered to play a round of board games. You see them? Now them are idlers, but now they don't have nothing to do. So them just pass the time and play 2 games, explained Nicholson, adding that taxi operators have also been hit by the shutdown of the sugar manufacturer. Residents are gravely concerned about their future, having banked their survival on sugar. Separate has revealed plans to diversify the Duncanfield lands into other crop cultivation, including cassava and coconuts, but there are no hard timelines when that project will come on stream. Gene Walt Henry is a 56-year-old cane farmer who supplied cane to the factory. His source of income has dried up, but he remains hopeful that he will find other means of feeding his family. It has affected the community in the most drastic of ways. However, we still try to adjust and stay self-sufficient in agriculture, Henry said. Marcus Garvey said that the land is the basis of power, and without it you can't survive. We need to get access to the land so that we can help ourselves, he said. The seismic financial fallout from the closure of the Golden Grove Sugar Estate in Duncanfield has stretched farther afield from the epicenter of the crisis. About 4 miles or 6.6 kilometers to the east of Duncanfield lies Hamity Hall, a district nestled in the hills overlooking acres of cane fields. There too, residents are reeling. We just sit and count cars go by, Ryan Douglas said as he hurriedly finished lunch. The whole of St. Thomas are feel it when the sugar factory closed down. We don't know what we're going to do, he said as a group of women who were in his company nodded their heads in approval. The effect has also been felt in other communities, such as Seaforth, and even as far away as the parish capital of Morant Bay. People come from all over this parish to eat our food off of the sugar factory, Michael Hamilton, a resident of Hamity Hall, said. Back in Duncanfield, only 2 primary schools, a health center and a post office appear to offer any signs of life. There are about 8 bars in and around the little town, plus a number of small cook shops, 2 marts and a haberdashery, but there are fears that the sugar estate's death will trigger the worsening of an exodus from the community that has long been happening. Me used to work at the factory, not for a long time before it closed. But now, like many of the young people who were over there, I am looking to also leave the community, said a distressed-looking Ayoka Reed. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.